DJ Ferris.
It's Chicago, nigga.
It's the real one.
Hit me.
Only one is pulling shit the fuck up.
DJ Ferris.
It's Chicago, nigga.
It's the real one.
Hit me.
Only one is pulling shit the fuck up.
Let's get sports talk.
Apparently, Russell Westbrook wants out from the Houston Rockets, according to The Athletic. Stephen A., what is the problem in H-Town?
Well, here's the problem. First of all, y'all, Max, as you know, sometimes you just you put on a different hat. This is not opinion. I'm telling you what I have heard. They don't want to play with each other anymore. Russell Westbrook doesn't want to play with James Harden. James Harden doesn't want to play with Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook wants the ball in his hands. He doesn't want to play off the ball as much. He looks at his success. And
that's what happened. When you put two ball-dominant players together, even though they are cool, it's bound to blow up. Because both of them don't like playing off the ball. They are ball-heavy dominant. It's very hard to get them type of players to work together. That's why they don't want to play with each other, because Russell Westbrook, he I think won back-to-back MVPs. He had 3 seasons. He had triple-doubles. And then you got James Harden, who had an MVP. And he had the basketball in his hand a lot. And now you got somebody else coming in that's the same player as you. You can't put the same players together. It's a disaster to happen. Because when you ball heavy dominant and you put them two type of players together, that's what happens. Russell Westbrook need the basketball in his hands at all times. James Harden need the basketball in his hand at all times. They each need to go to a team or to have that type of momentum they had. They had the basketball in their hand a lot. And that's what happened. You can't put them two type of players together. It's not going to work.
Oklahoma City, over the previous several years, the ball needs to be in his hands. That's his mentality. The mentality of James Harden is that, all right, so be it. And so as a result of it, Houston is in turmoil. Houston, we have a problem. Because if you're the Houston Rockets as an organization, you have a decision to make. The reality is that you can move Russell Westbrook, which they undoubtedly will try to do. Make no mistake about it, because he's made it clear that he does not want to play with James Harden. It's not about wanting out of Houston. He doesn't want to play with James Harden, and inevitably that means that you probably want out of Houston, because obviously the Rockets deem James Harden significantly more valuable than a Russell Westbrook. The question is, how much compensation are you going to give for Russell Westbrook? We know that he's one of the most athletic point guards, the most athletic point guard in the game's history. We know that he's a ferocious competitor. We know that he's box office, make no mistake about it. The problem is, again, is that his shooting ability.
He's not a very good shooter. He's attacked the rim player. Like, I remember he used to make plenty of those mid-range, but it haven't been there in the past few years. It has been more attack the basket more. And if players like Harden and Westbrook learn to sacrifice certain things, they will win a championship. But they don't know how to sacrifice certain things. And that's playing off the ball. You have to do certain things to be able to become successful. But they still have that mentality, I need the ball in my hands. If they go somewhere else, with another player that's ball dominant, and I had a basketball in his hand, and then another player off the ball, it's going to mess their chemistry up over there. It's going to mess their flow up. Because you have somebody that wants the basketball in his hand. If the basketball not in his hands, he's going to sit there in the corner and watch. If you learn how to sacrifice things, you will become successful in this league. Minor the success you already had. I'm saying where you want to be. And that's have that ring on your finger. But you can't do that by still having that same mentality that I need the basketball in my hand. Some things you have to sacrifice. If you're willing to do that, a lot of things that goes much smoother. But that mentality, I need a basketball hands. They're not a sacrifice.
Number one, and number two, he is as stubborn and as strong-willed as they come. KP knows him a hell of a lot better than me, being his former teammate, but he can testify to that. Russell Westbrook is a guy that is going to do things his way. And he did not go to the Houston Rockets, according to my sources, and ask for them to capitulate or to have some level of understanding. He made it very, very clear that he's going to play his game and he's going to do things his way, and he's not going to take a backseat to James Harden next season, so obviously he wants out of Houston. The Rockets, in turn, have to make that decision. And right now, Max and KP, it's one of those decisions where a couple of weeks ago, if you recall, Max, I was like, you don't get rid of James Harden. You hold on to James Harden. James Harden's averaged at least 29 over the last 4 years. 3 times they've gone to the semis, 1 time they've gone to the conference finals. But now that you know that Russ doesn't want to be there, and you're questioning the level of compensation that you can get for Russell Westbrook, as a result of that, the mentality is we might have to move James Harden because that's the guy that is just a juggernaut offensively, and we can ask for the house in return for him because there will be teams lined up to get their hands on James Harden. So clearly things are not going to be the same in Houston. The likelihood, I mean, it's a virtual guarantee that one of them is going to be gone, and a better than 50% shot that both will be gone. Tillman Fertitta, Mr. Stone, and obviously new coach Stephen Silas have some decisions to make. But the Houston Rockets that we have seen over the last several years may be no more because it is very, very possible that James Harden, of course Russell Westbrook wants out, and they'll probably move him as well, but it is very, very possible that the Houston Rockets may elect to move James Harden because James Harden's like, yo, I'm trying to compete for championships. And right now, this don't look like a championship scenario. Why the hell would I want to say? It's not that he wants to leave Houston because he loves.
You want to win, but you have to change your mindset. I understand that's your team. I understand that. Look at all the players you had that could potentially help you win a championship. Dwight Howard. You know why that didn't work out? Dwight Howard, before he had a different mindset when he came to LA this time around, if he had that same mentality with James Harden, it would have been a different outcome. Chris Paul. He's a player that needs the ball in his hand, but he can play off the ball sometimes. And he be fine with that. But you had an opportunity with him to go to a finals. If he wouldn't have got hurt that year, they was going to the finals. And then they had a fallout the following season, and it blowed up. You have to change sometimes. You say you want to do this, you got to really mean it. I'm going to put it like this. Everyone get on LeBron for how he letting AD lead the team. But what happened at the end of the season for them? They won a championship. Because LeBron willing to sacrifice and let AD lead. And look what it led to. Sometimes you have to sacrifice certain things if you want to get that. You could say it, but sometimes it's the maturity. It's sometimes you have to change.
Houston, KP, is that I want to win, I want to win. And if he doesn't believe he's in a winning situation, they've got to make changes. They are aware of it, guys, and they are on the phones, and they are accepting all phone calls to see what will be offered, not just for one of them, but for the both of them, obviously separately, separate and apart their ways.
Makes you wonder if it was coordinated. Like if Harden wanted out of town, then this sets those dominoes in motion. It makes.
Why I use that Dwight Howard reference is they both needed basketball in their hands. Dwight, he wanted more touches in the paint. He couldn't get it because James Harden is ball dominant. And he had to sit and watch James Harden dribble the basketball a whole lot. And he wasn't getting the touches. And they collided. What I mean is, if you do less of what you was doing previously with your game and willing to sacrifice for your co-star so every day could work, so y'all could continue on being successful and be able to win a championship? But it didn't. It didn't work out. You collided with many co-stars that you had opportunities to win. But it's just his ways. James Harden's a great player. Not taking anything away from him. It just sacrifice certain things. There's nothing wrong with that.
You wonder how much of this is coordinated between these two guys. Let's assume that it's not. Let's assume Russell Westbrook really just wants out. Here's the issue, and this is why they're going to have to look for deals for Westbrook before Harden. This is what the late, great Dr. Jerry Buss told Kobe Bryant when Kobe told him he wanted a trade. Dr. Buss, who's the greatest owner in the history of American team sports by so much it's embarrassing. Dr. Buss told Kobe, you're a 5-carat diamond. I'm not trading you for 5 1-carat diamonds. How do I get equal value for you? The history of the NBA, the entire history of the NBA tells us the winner of the trade is the team that gets the best player in the deal. And that's very, very difficult to get equal value for James Harden. Russell Westbrook's my favorite player. As I said that many times. I love watching him because he plays with his heart. He plays all out all the time. He's incredibly athletic and fun to watch. But it takes more around Russell Westbrook to get close to a championship than around Harden at this point in their careers. Let's be honest. Even in Westbrook's prime, he had KD. Obviously, before KD was on Golden State. They took Golden State to a Game 7. They failed. James Harden did not have a KD on his team. He didn't even have Chris Paul available to him when he took a Kevin Durant plus Steph Curry, everyone healthy Golden State team to a Game 7 at Houston. How do you want to play in a home game against those guys? You have to be pretty good. At Houston, no Chris Paul available to him, and if it wasn't for the worst shooting performance in history, I think it's pretty clear Houston would have won that game as it was. They only lost by single digits. The point is, you can get, when you look at these Rockets teams that have been live in the playoffs, and I've been critical of Harden for not coming through when the pressure is highest. However, those teams are never the most talented teams. They should never be able to get as far as they've gotten. But with Daryl Morey, Mike D'Antoni, and James Harden, that seemed to be able to get inferior talent compared to the really elite teams closer than they should have gotten to win the big prize. So Westbrook is going to be the guy I think they move first. He's good.
Like, Harden needs someone around him that's play off the ball because he's ball dominant. You can't get nobody just like James Harden again because it's not going to work. Get somebody that can play off the ball off of him because you know he need a basketball in his hand to operate.
To be the guy more easily you can get equal value for, although even then there's a problem because he has such a big contract. Any team that takes him is going to take the attitude that they're going to get a discount in the trade, what they have to give back because of the massive contract. So a team like the New York Knicks, who have already given up anytime soon winning a championship, even though it's been almost 48 years already, could take a guy like Westbrook, sell tickets, be exciting, be respectable right away, and not have to mortgage the house in order to get him. Harden is a much more difficult proposition to move